Hello, I'm Kathy Jameson, the Proposition Lady, and I'm here to help you understand the state propositions on your 2024 California election ballot. Today I'm going to talk about Prop 32, the $18 minimum wage initiative. A yes vote would raise the minimum wage in California to $18 per hour by 2026. Here's how it would work. The current minimum wage is $16 per hour. If Prop 32 passes, that will go up to 17 for the remainder of 2024, then increase to 18 in 2025. That applies to employers with 26 or more employees. The increase is more gradual for businesses with 25 or fewer employees. They'll go from 16 per hour to 17 in 2025, then up to 18 in 2026. A no vote retains the status quo. The Legislative Analyst's Office estimates that without Prop 32, the minimum wage in 2026 would likely be $17 per hour. Each year, the minimum wage in California is adjusted for inflation. If the inflation rate in the United States was 2%, the minimum wage in California will be raised by 2%. But 3.5% is the maximum. So if U.S. inflation goes up more than that, California's minimum wage will only go up 3.5%. Prop 32 does not change the annual adjustment calculation, but it pauses the adjustment process until 2027, while wages are stepped up to $18 per hour. There are industry-specific exceptions to the current $16 minimum wage. Earlier this year, the California legislature raised the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 per hour, and the lowest paid healthcare workers in California will step up to a $25 minimum wage over the next few years. In addition, about 40 California cities have already established a minimum wage that's higher than the state minimum. In some places, it's already higher than 18. Prop 32 will have less of an effect on those communities. But what are the effects of raising the minimum wage from $16 to $18 per hour? For one thing, if we pass Prop 32, California will have the highest minimum wage in the country, which makes sense since our cost of living is also among the highest. According to the MIT Living Wage Calculator, the living wage for a single adult living in California is around $27. A living wage is defined as the amount a household must earn to support themselves and/or their family working full-time. If that person has a child, the living wage goes up to almost $48 per hour. Two adults working full-time can get by on about $18 per hour, but it goes up to 26 if they have a child. Those numbers are based on state averages. But even in the cheapest county in California, a living wage for a single person would be $20.32. Simply put, Californians who make $16 per hour just can't make ends meet. Prop 32's increase to $18 per hour doesn't change that, but it will definitely help low-income families. Many people working one or two jobs are just one emergency away from becoming homeless. Those who manage to scrape by have no disposable income and a very stressful life. If you want to raise the overall quality of life for California workers, you may want to vote yes on Prop 32. And if you think raising the minimum wage will have a positive effect on the homeless crisis, that's another reason to vote yes. When people don't have enough money to get by, they may take advantage of taxpayer-funded aid programs like CalWORKS, CalFresh, and Medi-Cal. Supporters of Prop 32 view these services as a state subsidy for companies who don't pay employees a living wage. If you think employers should pay their people more to reduce the load on California's taxpayer-funded aid programs, you may want to vote yes on Prop 32. Now let's turn to some of the negative effects of raising the minimum wage. If an employer is currently paying their people $16 per hour, the $2 per hour difference could make it harder for the business to get by. They might have to cut positions from the payroll. A common criticism of a high minimum wage is the impact it can have on the number of available jobs. As we have already seen, $18 an hour is not the living wage in California. Is it worth the increase if we end up losing jobs? If you think the quantity of jobs is more important than the pay rate for those jobs, you may want to vote no on Prop 32. Some employers might keep their current number of workers but raise prices for goods and services to make up the difference. That means higher prices for consumers. If you think raising the minimum wage will increase overall inflation, you may want to vote no on Prop 32. Small businesses in California also have a hard time making ends meet. Raising the minimum wage could have a devastating effect on those businesses. That's another reason to vote no on Prop 32. If Prop 32 passes, California will have to increase the wages for some of its own employees. And we're likely to lose money because if businesses make fewer profits, they'll pay less in taxes. But on the other hand, we'll save money because California will spend less on taxpayer-funded assistance programs. The Legislative Analyst's Office says that taken together, the change in costs to the state's general fund likely would be less than 1/2 of 1% of the state's total general fund budget. When we follow the money, we see that over 11 million has been raised in support of Prop 32, most of it coming from Joseph Sandberg, an investor and anti-poverty advocate. Mr. Sandberg is the one who put Prop 32 on the ballot. As of the beginning of September, only 55,000 has been raised in opposition, mostly from political action committees representing restaurants and other businesses. If this difference holds up through the election, you can expect to see more ads supporting Prop 32 than opposing it. Sometimes you can be swayed by the mere exposure to advertisements, so just remember that one side has more money than the other. And be sure to consider all the pros and cons of Prop 32 before making a decision. While Prop 32 is easy enough to understand, it may not be easy to decide how to vote. Raising the minimum wage will improve the quality of life for the hourly workforce, but it could reduce the number of jobs available and increase local inflation. And it could be years before we truly understand the impact of passing or not passing Prop 32. I'm Kathy Jameson, the Proposition Lady, and I appreciate you being here with me today. See you soon, California voters. Bye now.